Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Other People's Secrets, with author and host Todd McNutt, and co-host Cadence Hooper, and special guest Kately, the White Hat Hacker.
Hello and welcome to Other People's Secrets. This is the April 6th edition of 2023. Okay, first of all, tonight we are not going to have our special guest, Kately. She'll be with us on Tuesday. And we're going to get synced in and get a regular day for each person and guest that we have on. Also, my co-host is missing today. And we'll see where that goes. I'm hoping we can get her back next week as well. As promised, we promised you yesterday that we will have a show and tell on RFID today. So I've kind of built the entire main part of the show around RFID and educating you on what it is, what it can do, and what its limitations are. So we're going to take an in-depth look at that. We're also going to discuss, I'm going to do a little myth busting and blow the whistle on some of the conspiracy theories about RFID. And then we'll do an update toward the end of the show on representingme.com. But right now, we're going to jump into our first commercial break. And we'll be back with some RFID stuff right after this.
Introducing our tough one, the 1970 Chevelle SS396. It's a great performer, except for one thing. No one gives it a chance to perform. Not that we can blame them. After all, there's a lot to admire about the new Chevelle SS396.
Your car?
Hey, what's that?
A no-nonsense cowl induction hood you can order that actually feeds in extra air when you accelerate. Functional hood pins.
These bobby pins.
No, these aren't bobby pin hood pins, baby, and they're for real hood pins. Yeah. Hey, 2 pipes. Gun it for me, will you, buddy? Oh, now, come on.
What are belted fiberglass tires, aren't they?
Yeah.
Consider this fair warning. When you order your Chevelle SS396 at your Chevy dealer's sports department, expect to draw a crowd, no matter where you take it.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves. I like to teach the world to sing with me. Perfect harmony, perfect harmony. I like to buy the world a coke and keep it company. It's the real thing. I like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony, perfectly. And I'd like to buy the world a coke and keep it company. It's the real thing. What the world wants today is the real thing. What the world wants today is the real thing.
No matter what size your label says, Men's Warehouse has you covered. With American designers and expert stylists, we'll help you find the perfect look. For the receptions, the board meetings, the trips with the boys. And let's not forget the anniversaries. It's time to take your style to the next level and create the perfect fit. It's time to like the way you look.
Welcome back, and we're glad to have you here on Other People's Secrets. And as promised, I'm going to bring this in and talk to you about RFID. And it's actually one of the most misunderstood technologies that's around today. Conspiracy theories love it because they get to throw it up at everybody. It's the bottom line is it was mostly developed by Walmart. They put up most of the funding for it, and it was an inventory thing. So that, I mean, a lot of us remember back when Walmart used to close for one day the first week of every January, and they would do an inventory. So they're paying their entire staff at a store to come in and literally count cans of tomato soup on the shelf, cans of chicken noodle soup on the shelf. They had to count everything in the store. So to stop having to pay everybody and to stop being closed for a day nationwide, they started helping develop and help fund the development of RFID. So the manufacturers, for anything that's on a Walmart shelf now, the manufacturer has to put an RFID chip in the product or in the packaging, labeling, something. If you buy a baby doll for a baby, it's probably in the packaging as opposed to in the doll itself. It's under the labels of a lot of the food products and stuff that you buy there. If you peel the label off, you can find it on some of them. Some of them, they've sandwiched it between two pieces of paper because they don't want you to know that it has an RFID label. It's kind of a taboo in a lot of areas because of the controversy over it. But with the technology, they can literally track when the truck's loaded at the manufacturer, how many cases of green beans and how many cans of green beans in every case are loaded on the truck. Then when the truck unloads it at the warehouse at Walmart, they can count it again. Then when it goes in the back door of the store, it's counted again. And then they keep inventory they sell it as you pay for it and swipe it on the thing. It takes it off the inventory, and they know at any given time, no stopping and no closing for inventory. They know all the time by looking at their computer how many cans of green beans they have in the store, in the warehouse, and in the trucks on the way from the manufacturer to their warehouse. So it's a really efficient device for that. But where the wheels fall off with the conspiracy theorists is that RFID can track you. I'm going to bust that theory. I'm going to bust it all to heaven and hell right now. One of the things that I want to do first is show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you the breakdown of an RFID. If you can see the screen now, you can see that they really are about the size of a grain of rice. Actually, I've got a better picture to show you that. It's actually a little bigger than the size of a grain of rice. You can see that in this picture. And then I'm going to go back to the picture that I just had up because I want you to notice this. This is an RFID chip. This is a breakout. Now, this is an implantable chip, so it says that it has the biocompatible glass encapsulation so that it doesn't, your skin tissue won't react, or your pet skin tissue won't react when the chip is implanted inside of a person or an animal. But you'll notice that it's got a silicone microchip. It has a capacitor, which it calls it a tuning capacitor. That's just the time that it takes for the capacitor to charge and then discharge and then recycle back to charge, fully charge and discharge. They call that tuning because they can adjust that adjusts the frequency that this operates on. And then it has a copper antenna. Now you'll notice in there is no battery. One of the big ones the conspiracy theorists like to throw out there is, and you've probably seen pictures of them. I've got a picture here of a place where it looks infected. They've got even worse ones they show on the internet that they show you that the battery blew up in the RFID they implanted in somebody's hand. There is no battery. The battery can't blow up because it doesn't exist. The difference, I'm going to go back to high school science now for some of us, electronics lab. The difference between a battery and a capacitor. A battery, you slowly charge it and it holds energy and slowly discharges it. A capacitor, you can slow charge it, you can fast charge it. It doesn't care. It takes all the energy you give, but as soon as it's full, fully discharges instantly. That's what it does. Unless you've got resistors on it to keep it from discharging too fast, it dumps, core dumps everything, the entire charge into the circuit on that. How RFID works is when you've got the reader and you pass the RFID within range of the reader is putting off an electromagnetic field. You have to pass the RFID within the magnetic field, and that electromagnetic field, again, back to science class, high school, that none of us listened to, we all slept through. When you take a coil of wire and pass it through a magnetic field, it induces a current on the wire. Well, in the case of RFID, they take that current and they store it in the capacitor. So as the card passes through the field, it's taking on this current, and it doesn't take long for that tiny little capacitor to be full. And as soon as it's full, it discharges into the microprocessor, the microcircuit. The microcircuit sends out one little burst transmission with a coded message on it. And the receiver receives that message and says, yeah, that person's authorized, unlock the door and let them in. Or it says, no, I don't recognize that code, and the light turns red and it'll beep at you and tell you you don't get to come in. So, not the way you want to find out if you've gotten fired from your job. There are multiple ways to use it. We've got inventory. We've got access control into buildings and restricted areas of buildings and things like that. They have the access control. Your company ID card will often have a chip in it if they've got access control. Then we go to the implantable chips, the ones that people were implanting in their hands. Same thing they're putting in your pet when you take your pet to the vet and have it done. One thing I want to clarify on the pet thing is there are like 4 different systems, I believe, that veterinarians use. And they're all 4, even though they're all on 13.5 megahertz frequency, they all use different coding on the chip. So when they code the chip, it's different. So if your pet, these things don't track your pet. We'll get into that a little more in a little bit, but they don't track your pet. You can't find your pet if it's chipped. But if your pet is found and they take it to the vet scans it. If the vet you had chip your pet used the same brand of device that the veterinarian that they took it to when they found it uses, he'll read it, they'll call you, and you get your pet back. If not, he scans your pet with a different kind. Well, they don't talk to each other, so he doesn't even see that it has a chip in it. And he says, sorry, so either these people just got a free pet, or they take and drop it off the pound, and somebody at the pound's going to get it and adopt it, and you've lost your pet. So that's a freebie there. That's not even the myth I'm going to bust today. But then there's the 900 megahertz RFIDs, and those are the ones that are on your toll passes and your like Real ID, things like that. Those are the higher frequency because they've got a longer range. We're going to get into that in a minute too. Then they jump up and they've got the 2.5 gigahertz. Now these puppies, they're called an active RFID. They actually have it's a larger device. They can't make them real small. They do have a battery in them. They're active. They have a battery in them. They're a powered device. And so it's constantly putting out a signal. It's much like it operates more like a cell phone, pinging the towers, constantly letting them know, hey, I'm here. And they have GPS in them oftentimes. Most of them do. And they can track semi-loads and things like that with them. And they use them for all kinds of stuff. a lot of medical equipment and high-end equipment, bulldozers and things like that will have an active RFID tracking, and those are tracking systems. Those are not your RFID access. They're not RFID inventory. Those are tracking devices. I'm going to show you now a couple of things. Here is an access control card. You can see there that the hand is holding the card up, and that's a reader on a door. And then I'm going to show you, here is what is inside that card. You can see in the upper right corner the processor chip. You can see in the bottom right corner the capacitor chip. You can see the antenna. This one looks like it has two antennas, probably one for charging and one for the output. The bigger one's going to be the one for the charging, and you can see the little wires down there in the bottom right corner going to the capacitor. But so that's the anatomy of the cards, and we saw the anatomy of the other. Here, I want to show you something though, because this is interesting. They can actually, if you look in this, this tag is actually an RFID chip. It's in the tag. So, I mean, they're getting really creative with these things. And here's one I wanted to show you. This is a chip being removed. And this is where everything falls apart for me. Is when they remove the chip, then we get into stuff like this. This is a chip encapsulated in tissue. I don't know whether this came out of a pet or out of a person, but this tissue around it is the body's biological protection from the chip. And you say, why does it have to have protection from the chip? And I'm going to show you this real quick, and then we'll go back out of it. This is a chip. They've actually pulled part of the chip out of the tissue. But you say, okay, one of the first things you showed us said it's a bio-neutral glass case. That's not why your body makes basically a tumor around the chip. The reason your body does that is because these things pulse off an electromagnetic field, charging that capacitor. Every building that we're in has a 60 hertz electromagnetic field. Don't believe me? Go down to an electronics store and get a magnetic field reader. You turn it on in 60 hertz, you're in a magnetic field everywhere you go in our society. That said, that means that every 60 times a second, 60 hertz at 60 pulses a second that the wiring is doing, 60 times a second, that RFID chip in the back of my hand is being pulsed. It means it's turning on, turning off, turning on, turning off. When it goes off, it's discharging an electromagnetic frequency in the back of my hand or wherever you have it implanted. That being the case, your body finds that magnetic field right there in local place annoying. It sees it as a threat. It sees it as a potential damage to your tissue. So it builds this tumor around it. That tumor can become cancerous. It's different for everybody, what does and doesn't trigger cancer. The last time I looked at any of the statistics, the American Veterinary Associations says that 1 in 6 pets that gets an RFID chip will develop cancer from the RFID implant or the capsule around it. And so 1 in 6 pets that gets it will die early of cancer. So it's a health risk on top of everything else. And that's what absolutely amazes me, that they're doing, that they've now mandated in the United States. I talked to a pet breeder. I wanted to get a little dog. And after I got divorced, and they said, well, we have to chip the dog before we can sell it to you. And I was like, I don't want the dog chipped. I have health issues with it. I wrote the book on why you don't want to chip your dog. and they said we legally, as a breeder, licensed breeder, we will lose our license if we get caught selling a dog that we bred without a microchip in it. I was like, that is just crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Anyway, it is, and I was asked a question one time. It's like, I believe it was in 1997, but I'd have to check that. The Congress passed a law and said that anytime you have a surgery, if they put a pin or anything in you, it has to be marked with a serial number, so that if they go back later, they can see and read it and tell. Well, when RFID started getting popular, they actually started putting RFID chips in attached to the pins and the plates and the things they put in people. And I had a young woman ask me one day, she said, well, someone told me that they're actually in breast implants. And I said, yes, actually they are. And you can see here, there's one. And if you look, you have to blow it up. And I didn't blow it up, I'm sorry. But this is actually an ad for one of the companies. And they do brag that they put them in there. And I know the police have said that they have actually identified corpses of women who had been killed and left somewhere by the serial number of their breast implants, because that's all registered. Anytime they put something in your body, they have to register it with the database. So anyway, we're going to take our second break. I got a lot more stuff to share with you about RFID, and we'll see you in 2.5 minutes. Be right back.
Your personal information gets exposed so often, it might as well be hanging in a museum. Everyday activities like online shopping, banking, and even data breaches may expose your information and make it dangerously easy to have your identity stolen. No wonder there's a new victim every 3 seconds.
Someone stole my information and tried to buy a car in my name. Felt really devastating, frightened, because I had no control.
And the ways identity thieves can steal and use your information are constantly evolving.
Someone used my information to open up bank accounts in my name. It was terrifying, not knowing what was out there and what had been opened.
Watching your accounts or monitoring your credit may not be enough, but protecting your identity can be easy with LifeLock, a leader in identity theft protection. LifeLock monitors threats to your identity, and if an issue is detected, sends you an alert.
It was a big yes or a big no button. I clicked that's not me, and LifeLock took it from there.
If you are a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you. I don't know what I would have done without my restoration specialist.
And you'll be covered by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds, personal expenses, and coverage for lawyers and experts if needed.
With the $1 Million Protection Package, I know LifeLock has me covered.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity, but now it's easy to help protect yourself.
I realized identity theft can happen to anybody, so that's why I signed up for LifeLock.
Join the millions of people already protected by LifeLock, and for a limited time, save 25% with promo code 25TV. LifeLock. Identity theft protection starts here. Call 1-800-543-3562 or go to lifelock.com/25TV and use promo code 25TV to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
No matter what size your label says, Men's Warehouse has you covered. With American designers and expert stylists, we'll help you find the perfect look. For the receptions, the board meetings, the trips with the boys. And let's not forget the anniversaries. It's time to take your style to the next level and create the perfect fit. It's time to like the way you look.
And we're back, and I'm gonna look here a little bit. I skipped over some stuff before that I'm gonna go back to. The RFID chips in your typical cards, they are readable up to about a foot. These are your corporate ID cards and things like that, access control cards. They'll usually read up to about a foot away. under the right conditions, if it's a new card and a strong reader. Then we go to the chips. These are the 13.5 megahertz. And they are, if you read up on them, they say, some places say that they'll actually be read up to 3 meters. That's bunk. That's absolute bunk. It's nonsense. I don't know whoever came up with that, but I've done a lot of testing and a lot of working with these devices. And trust me, if you're more than 18 to 20 centimeters away, there's about a 1 in 1,000 chance you're going to read the thing. So it's kind of crazy that they even try and say that it reads closer than that. Then we have these are the 900 megahertz. It's kind of a cheesy looking one, but we'll go back to this one and show you. These are the 900 megahertz. And these have the good long range to them. These are the ones that they put in things that they want to read from a distance. I've been told that they read for up to basically 300 feet, the length of a football field. And then again, we, as I said, the big ones, they're the 2.5 gigahertz. They're bigger. They're built into trucks and things like that to track them. They put them up inside of shipments when they crate stuff. A lot of times, if they're shipping it overseas and they want to track where it's at, they'll put one of those in it. But again, they've got a battery in them and things like that. They can be read for miles. They can actually even be read by a satellite. None of these other chips, I don't care what anybody tells you, if they tell you they can read a card, an implant, or a 900 megahertz from a satellite, you're dealing with somebody that's one of two things. They're either a blithering idiot or a blatant liar, one or the other, because the technology ain't there. There isn't that kind of range on these things. They have to have enough power, and those little teeny tiny, I mean, we're talking microscopic capacitors don't have enough power to do that. They just don't. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is the 900 megahertz. And I'm showing you a device now. This is called the Grabba. The Grabba, as you can see, it looks a lot like a cell phone with an adapter in it. I've gotten to play with one at a convention that I went to for emergency management and access control and security. And they showed us this device and were showing it to us, and they showed us films of them testing it. This is what Real ID is all about, folks. And this is why I'm fighting it as hard as I can. The RFID chip in a Real ID is in the 900 megahertz spectrum. And that gives it like a football field of range. So a policeman can hold this Grabba up as you drive by up to a football field away. And he can read your ID chip in your car as you drive by. Where in heaven or hell did they forget about the Fourth Amendment? Unlawful search and seizure. This thing, and when you read the articles about it, if you go look at their website and stuff, grabba.com, they talk about and they brag that this thing can read. They can put in, they can have you where they can take your picture. It'll do facial recognition. They can do fingerprints, thumbprints, things like that. They get you and have you put your finger on. They could read it, ID you. If you've got an ID on you, a real ID, they can read that. It can read the RFID in the currency in your car. So if you got your paycheck and go and cash it and you got $1,200 in your pocket, they know. They hold that device up. It tells them your ID, how much currency you have, and then here's the good one. You're going to love this. NRA fumbled the ball Huge in 2012. They absolutely bought the smoke and mirrors crap. In 2012, they decided they were going to put RFID chips in guns. The NRA started screaming, "Hell no, we won't go. You can't put a chip in our guns." And the government said, no, you don't understand. The chip won't turn the gun off. The chip won't do anything to affect the working of your gun. We got you. No, it doesn't. They didn't lie. NRA dropped it. But that means that little grab-a device, when the cop holds it up, if your gun was manufactured in 2012 or after, it tells him the make, model, caliber, and manufacturing date of your firearm. Again, without a warrant, without a probable cause, and without your permission. Go ahead, search everybody. It's all right. That was one of the issues I had that actually got me into the business of blowing the whistle on the information industry, is because a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, the police are going to use this for all good things and stuff. But let's just say some cop standing at a park and some pretty girl walks by. Hold that up. He's got her name, address, phone number, everything on her DMV record. He now has it in the palm of his hand. If she's got money, if she's got a gun, all of that. He knows all of that. Why? And where I was going with why I got into this was back in the day, I knew police officers who would run their daughter's boyfriends through the system. That's illegal. You can't do that. It's like, and they're like, well, but you know, it's for the safety of guard. Well, why don't you run my girlfriend through it for me so I know that she's safe and a safe bet to date? Why don't I've got a niece. Well, she's dating a guy. Why don't you run him through the computer for me? Oh, well, we can't do that. Well, you do it for your own daughter. Just because you're a cop, you get to know things I don't. I'm sorry, but that's no. I'm not going to go any further than that on that one. But I'm here to tell you that I have worked with RFID enough to know that while this is a pretty inert topic and subject and everything, I'm here to tell you that it can be very dangerous if we let it. It can get out of hand very quickly. And right now we're going to take another commercial break. I know, but it's the third one and there are only 4 in the whole show. So bear with me. Give me a couple minutes. It gives me a chance to take a drink of my lemonade and stuff and kind of regroup, make sure I'm ready for the next segment. When we come back from this commercial break, we're going to talk about some more of the facts about RFID and blow some more of the myths and go from there. So hang on, we'll be back in 2.5 minutes.
Chevy Silverado factory lifted trucks. Where will they take you? Silverado ZR2, Trail Boss, and Custom Trail Boss, because adventure is everywhere.
RepresentingMe.com.
Our democracy has been tested in recent years, but...
Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
To make kinder the face of the nation.
I'm not throwing in the towel.
The point is that the program is not going to go forward.
I've met with the families of some of those folks.
I want to find a friendly reporter. Are you a friendly reporter?
We honor the sacrifice of those who died for our country in many ways.
So we're here once again And on the Texas
very
border.
important, and I think we've created a very positive culture of a can-do spirit and just get things done.
I reject the idea. I really do. That's one of the things that bothers me.
I have nothing to add. Not figuratively, actually, literally.
All we're here to find out is how we are proceeding and when we will finish.
Okay. First, I'm just going to say a brief...
I think one of the things that we should...
So while I'd love nothing more than to pretend like this isn't happening.
We are a nation that at its best loves, protects, and helps our fellow Americans.
Welcome to RepresentingMe.com. Click on any person. Go to your state. Check out other representatives. Your registration is always private. And coming soon, World Leaders, the app, town halls, follow alerts. RepresentingMe.com.
Hey, welcome back, and we're going to talk about Representing Me, give you an update after the next segment. Right now, I want to go into a little more detail on the conspiracy theory nonsense that people put out there as fact about RFID. One of the things, I actually saw pictures. I'm not going to name a name, but there was a woman out there. Oh, she was beating the band, lawyer. She was beating the band about RFID and the implants and their tracking devices. And she was one of them that on her website, she had the red, swollen, infected place where somebody didn't use sterile equipment when they implanted an RFID. And her caption on it is that the battery exploded in it. What battery? I showed you. There are no batteries. What are we talking about? Then I actually saw somebody sent me some stuff because I was publicly getting on her about it and calling that thing. She actually they looked like these big crowds gathering as protests, and they took a long shot. And there were like 14 people in the way they had them clumped up and were taking pictures from angles and changing where the people were, and actually had them changing signs and clothes. It was making it look like she had a crowd of 100 or more people, or a couple of hundred people at some rallies, when there'd be like 15 people show up. And so, as much outrage as there is, it's kind of crazy that that what is actually going on out there. I'm going to show you one here in a minute. I'm going to have to pull one up. There is another video that I want to show you because this one is crazy. It's one of my favorite, and I'm sorry I didn't cue it before the show, but I think it's going to be worth it if you'll bear with me for just a moment and let me find it. I can have it up pretty quick. Well, it's not there. It has to be there. Anyway, well, I thought I was going to show it to you, but I guess maybe I'm not. But anyway, it's a news clip from a reporter talking about a Saudi inventor that invented an RFID chip with that could be tracked from anywhere. They were going to put it in like prisoners and things like that, and be able to track them where they go. And if they go somewhere they're not supposed to, it would actually have a cyanide capsule built into it, so that you could push the button and kill it. So yeah, it was is some crazy stuff out there for ideas on what to do with this stuff. I think I know why it did it, because I grabbed the wrong thing. Anyway, so moving right along. The technology and where things are at, there's a lot of stuff to it, but a lot of stuff out there is just being crazy. They've got one that I love, this one, Chippy. We talked about it a little bit the other day with Cadence in the show. Chippy is a fictitious character. It's a RFID chip. How original! I mean, really. But yeah, the Chippy is arms, legs, everything, and he dances around and does this. They had a website about him. I don't know if they still do or not. I'd have to find it. But Chippy was going to come to your school, your kid's school, teach them all the benefits of RFID. Oh, nobody can kidnap your child again because your kid's got an RFID chip, all this stuff. All this stuff was conspiracy theory nonsense. Chippy never existed. Somebody spent a lot of money making a website and creating this whole schedule of schools it was going to, and there was no Chippy. It wasn't a federal website. It was some conspiracy theorist's wild dream, and they put it out there, and people bought it. The other one that I got a kick out of Cadence, the co-host response on Tuesday, we talked about it, was the little town in Wyoming. She'd actually heard about it. But they supposedly, it was in the news, it was reported in the news that they had chipped everyone in town, man, woman, child, babies, pets. If it was living and breathing in this little town in Wyoming, they got chipped. I personally talked to and been invited to come and visit and check, bring a reader with me and check. They said, no one in the town. I've talked to the fire chief, the police chief, the mayor, and the school superintendent. Didn't happen. Nobody in the town has ever been chipped. So it's crazy. But you gotta watch what you see in the media, because this was even, I mean, this wasn't even a media spin. It's just stuff that's been put out there. And you know, let me show you the video about the Saudi inventor. You're gonna get a kick out of this. I love this video.
This next story may sound like something out of, well, a Hollywood thriller. A Saudi inventor has created a killer microchip. It's designed to track terrorists and criminals and, well, you can think of somebody. Not only does it include a GPS device, it also has a lethal dose of cyanide, which can be activated at any time. You get my point? The inventor's bid for a patent has been rejected in Germany. Joining us now this morning to talk about it, Jake Ward, deputy editor of Popular Science. Okay.
Okay, as you could see, Red Bear was a lot younger then, so this is not a new video. This topic's been going on. This subject has been a controversy since the early 2000s when RFID was being in development. 2002, 2003 time area. It's in my book, Other People's Secrets, which is available on Amazon.com. And we're going to kind of follow through the book on the show and talk about a lot of this stuff. So if you want to read ahead and see where we're going, go to Amazon.com, download the book. It's an ebook, or you can buy the hard copy if you like paper. I like paper, but I found I don't read paper books anymore. I just read them all on a screen. But it's just crazy. That RFID device would have to be big enough that it would have to have a battery. It would have to have a way to recharge the battery. It has to have a GPS in it, which back in that day, when this Saudi inventor did this, GPSs weren't the little tiny coin-sized things that we have today. I mean, today we've got GPSs that you could actually track, put in somebody and track. But again, you also have to have a battery. You have to have a power supply. You have to have a transmitter that can transmit what the GPS signal is, or you're not going to be able to track them. And then it comes down to the final point. 307 million of us here in America, just here in America, all carry smartphones. GPS device, battery, transmitter, always connected to the grid. Why do they need to put a GPS in us? That's the same thing I've said about TikTok. I used to work for a company that repped Sanyo surveillance cameras. So one of the VIPs at Sanyo told me, he said, don't hook any of your surveillance cameras up to the internet because there's a back door in all cameras that we're required to put in them for the US government. And he said, but it's out, it's hacked. He said, anybody can get into your cameras if they know the backdoor code. So keep that in mind. Just know that. I mean, if they could track my surveillance camera, they can't track my phone. 80% of these phones are made in China, for gosh sakes. They don't need TikTok. They've got my phone. I'm carrying it with me. And I don't have to download an app. It's just the phone. So folks, the time is flying and we've got one more commercial break. We'll be back right after this.
Away is the smell of fresh pine. It's a place where giants still live. Away is where the farther down the road you go, the closer you get to the ones you love. Find your Away. For a dealer and the RV that's right for you, visit GoRVing.com.
No matter what size your label says, Men's Warehouse has you covered. With American designers and expert stylists, we'll help you find the perfect look. For the receptions, the board meetings, the trips with the boys. And let's not forget the anniversaries. It's time to take your style to the next level and create the perfect fit. It's time to like the way you look.
Introducing our tough one, the 1970 Chevelle SS396. It's a great performer, except for one thing. No one gives it a chance to perform. Not that we can blame them. After all, there's a lot to admire about the new Chevelle SS396.
Your car? Hey, what's that?
A no-nonsense cowl induction hood you can order that actually feeds in extra air when you accelerate. Functional hood pins.
These Bobby pins.
No, these aren't Bobby pin hood pins, baby, and they're for real hood pins. Yeah. Hey, 2 pipes. Gun it for me, will you, buddy? Oh, now, come on.
These aren't belted fiberglass tires, aren't they?
Yeah.
Consider this fair warning. When you order your Chevelle SS396 at your Chevy dealer's sports department, expect to draw a crowd, no matter where you take it.
How would you like to be able to travel anywhere, anytime you want, with all the luxury and comfort of home? You can do this in an RV from Apache Village. We want you to experience waking up to any destination of your choice, from the Grand Tetons to Pebble Beach. We have a large inventory of new and used coaches from top manufacturers like Fleetwood and Jayco. We are here to help you find the perfect motorhome for your family. Come in and see why we say, go one better, go Apache Village.
RepresentingMe.com.
Our democracy has been tested in recent years, but...
Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
To make kinder the face of the nation.
I'm not throwing in the towel.
The point is that the program is not going to go forward.
I've met with the families of some of those folks.
I want to find a friendly reporter. Are you a friendly reporter?
We honor the sacrifice of those who died for our country in many ways.
So we're here once again on the Texas
very
border.
important, and I think we've created a very positive culture of a can-do spirit and just get things done.
I reject the idea. I really do. That's one of the things that bothers me.
I have nothing to add. Not figuratively, actually, literally.
All we're here to find out is how we are proceeding and when we will finish.
Okay. First, I'm just going to say a brief...
I think one of the things that we should
So while I'd love nothing more than to pretend like this isn't happening.
We are a nation that at its best loves, protects, and helps our fellow Americans.
Welcome to RepresentingMe.com. Click on any person. Go to your state. Check out other representatives. Your registration is always private. And coming soon, World Leaders, the app, town halls, follow alerts. RepresentingMe.com.
And welcome back. We're going to start wrapping this up. We don't have that much longer on the show, but I want to talk about a little bit about it. I just ran the commercial again for RepresentingMe.com. That is a development of Civic Publishing Company, which I run, and it also produces this show. RepresentingMe.com, if you haven't heard anything about it, it is a political media platform. And the difference between Representing Me and social media is that on Representing Me, each politician and candidate gets a timeline. They can post on their timeline. They can post text, videos, photos, and documents. And people can go there and get the message literally straight from the horse's mouth. And some of you young people don't know that saying, but ask an older person to explain it to you. But they get to post their message. No spin left, no spin right, their message, their tone, their voice inflection, their passion. The difference between this and social media is that when they do that in social media, then if I come late to the game later in the day and I go to look and see what they said, it's buried under piles of fog from other people throwing their opinions in the mix. And I'll be honest with you, I posted a message to Twitter the other day, and in 10 seconds, I couldn't find my own post. And it's like the other social medias, everything gets clouded with all these other comments and things. So we're going to set up a town hall. That isn't on there yet, but the website's up. We're going to set up a town hall so you can go discuss it there, but you don't get to discuss anything. Nobody gets to post on their timeline but the politician or the candidate, or of course their social media person, because they're all getting those. If they don't have them, they probably are behind the eight ball. But we're in the launch process now. But right now, it's taken 2.5 years to get where we are, and we've spent tens of thousands of dollars on this. Right now, we're in the launch process. We're in the early stages. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be getting the politicians on and bringing them to the table so they'll start posting. One of the biggest things you can do as my audience, as my followers, as my friends, my family, my fans, go to the website, click on the register, the login, the register, and it'll go to register. The registration is free. There is no cost. Doesn't cost the politicians anything. It doesn't cost you anything. We run some ads top and bottom of the page, and on the main page there's some in between the categories, but on the candidate pages and the political pages, it's top and bottom of the screen. And so that's how we monetize it and pay the bills. But go register. We don't share, we don't sell, we don't rent our registrations. They're only so that if you go on there and threaten somebody, the police are going to come to us and say, who did that? And we're going to have to give them that. That's a given. So, register. If you don't register, you can't use the town hall. You can't do thumbs up, thumbs down. You can just look at the site. But if you want to actually participate in the site and be part of it, register. And if people will start getting on there and registering, It'll also give us a sense of urgency we can give to the politicians and their staff to start posting for you. So if you're seeing this and you haven't registered yet, go to representingme.com, put in your registration, and help us get this thing going. The site is going to be good. Everybody we've talked to, the constituents and the people in the Senate, Congress, governors, everyone we've talked to has thought this was absolutely a fantastic idea. And everybody keeps saying, man, why didn't somebody think of this before? And I'm like, well, I don't know. We've only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to do some housekeeping. Let you know that on Tuesday, Kaylee, our White Hat hacker, will be with us on Tuesday. I talked to her earlier today, and she said she is planning on being here then. We're going to talk to her about the dark web. And we're going to talk to her about cryptocurrency. Because I know that's one of the big things with the dark web is everything's cryptocurrency and stuff so that you can pay for things and it's untraceable. And we've talked about how untraceable it is, that unless you're on one end or the other of a transaction, you can't read what's inside. So when Experian tells you they're going to tell you if your stuff's being sold on the dark web, the hacker says the only way they could do that is if they're either buying it or selling it. They have to be on one end or the other of the transaction. But we're going to go into it with her more about how she can say that so definitively and what makes it that way and what makes the dark web so secure, how to get to it, the legalities of it. And then we're going to talk to her again about cryptocurrency. And then we're also going to talk about with her and with another guest about the pros and cons. Buying gold and silver. Everything's a big rage now about, oh, buy gold and silver. It'll hedge you against the inflation and all this stuff in the economy. And if the money collapses, we'll have gold and silver to use to trade and buy things you need. So we're going to talk to some people about that. If you have any questions that you would like us to address here on the show, ops@seebic.com. Seebic is our publishing company. Seebic Publishing, SEEBIC, Seebic.com. ops@seebic.com. And we'll get those. We'll reply to emails and answer questions as much as we can on here. And we're about to close, so I'm going to leave you with this. It's all about information. Who has it? Who can get it? And who controls it? Control yours. We'll see you Tuesday.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Other People's Secrets, with author and host Todd McNutt, and co-host Cadence Hooper, and special guest Kaylee, the White Hat Hacker.